I work for UNDP, where I look at knowledge management, knowledge sharing, and I made exhaustive notes on each of the people who spoke today. And we have a community of practice at UNDP, which is known as the Climate Change Community of Practice. And each of you are welcome to become a member if you really want to understand the gist and the knowledge behind each of those presentations that have taken place today. However, today I am not getting into the mechanism of knowledge sharing that we do at the United Nations, and particularly at the United Nations Development Program. Today I am going to talk to you about the role of renewable energy in tackling climate change, the way forward. This has been a 3-day conference on renewable energy. Important aspect in development of renewable energy is the replacement of fossil fuels as an energy source. I think that is the driving force behind this conference. Here are some very important statistics. Burning 1 ton of fossil fuel on an average generates 3.2 tons of CO2. Fossil fuels pollute the environment. Renewable energy technology is popular in India, solar, wind. The new government is now planning to have a national mission on wind. That is on the anvil. They are also going to have a new national mission on waste to energy. As a result of climate change, new investment opportunities exist for the development of technologies and installation of new power plants using renewable energy. Hybrids, we heard, solar, PV, solar thermal. UNDP has a different, connotation for using solar thermal. I'll come to that shortly. There is a significant benefit from renewable energy in terms of reducing greenhouse gases. And is extremely important for mitigating the adverse impacts of climate change. Just let me share with you a statistics which we came out a few days ago. Very, very important. In 2100, the population of the world would be 11 billion people. Population of Asia would decline from its peak of 5.5 billion in 2050 to 4.9 billion in 2100. That's a massive decline of almost 600 million people. Considering the highest growth rate in the world taking place in Asia, we need to think about it. I would like to place before you another statistic. In the intervening period, from now till 2100, the population of Africa will go from the present level of 1.2 billion to maybe over 5.6 billion. So, nature balances itself. And how is this balance going to take place? Climate change is going to play an important role. We are foreseeing a mini ice age coming up in 2030. Government of India estimates that by 2031-32 we will be generating 5 billion tons of CO2. Depending upon the mix of technologies used and adoption of energy efficiency measures wherever possible, these figures could go down about 1 billion tons. Now we are talking about 100,000 megawatts from solar by 2022. The new government has this plan. This is a very good plan. At present, our GHG emissions are about 1.5 billion tons. We'll be saving 10% of our GHG emissions if we have 100,000 megawatts of solar. The Government of India plans to provide access to electricity to all households in the next 1,000 days. We heard the Prime Minister of India mention this from the Red Fort. How is this possible? Renewable energy-based decentralized distributed generation, in UNDP we call it DDG, can help mitigate climate change and also provide solution for rural electrification and sustainable livelihoods. UNDP is implementing a biomass energy project with MNRE. This is significant, as about 30% of India's energy needs are still being met from biomass. Energy consumption by the domestic sector in India is 42%, of which over 70% is accounted by inefficient burning of biomass in rural areas. My colleague on the dais mentioned about biomass. Although he didn't get into the detail, I think biomass is one of the most important sources of energy in this country. I would like to now switch over to not being in India, being in Bharat. Bharat is our rural India. We have a very dichotomous situation in this country. We have a prosperous India, which I would like to call as India, and a rural India, which is relatively backward, which is I would like to call as Bharat. In most households, the energy efficiency of traditional cooking stoves using biomass fuels such as cow dung cakes and firewood is as low as 8 to 9%, even lower maybe. We have a very big project on high efficiency cook stoves. The continued use of firewood for cooking also results in significant pressures on forest resources. One of the ways we can combat climate change, its adverse impact, is by protecting our forests and letting them remain in its pristine environment. Estimates indicate that around 50% of the country's forests are impacted by firewood collection and other human activities. Over 30% of households, it's not, I'm not saying that if you collect twigs or something is going to happen, but when twigs are not available, people cut the trees also. And let me also tell you, the people who look after the forest are very much concerned about protecting these forests. Estimates over 30% of households in India continue to use kerosene. Kerosene for lighting has a lot of pollution issues, and we could have a whole conference on kerosene for lighting purposes. This needs to be substituted by solar lanterns. I have often been hearing about solar lanterns, lighting 1 billion lives, Cherry initiative, this initiative, that initiative. I called one of the vendors to my office and I told him, I want to buy some of your lanterns. I purchased about 8 to 10 lanterns and used them in my house. Not charging them by solar, charging them by electricity. And it is kind of a portable thing, I carry it everywhere. In the last 5 to 7 years, 9 of them have conked out. They are not serviceable. These are some of the issues that we need to tackle. Promoting energy efficient use of biomass can help transform the rural energy scenario and reduce GHG emissions very, very significantly. Access to clean energy. This is our flagship project at UNDP. We are developing a framework for scaling up interventions for enhanced access and delivery of clean energy services. Inputs to develop a national strategy for accelerated clean energy access. Capacity development of stakeholders. This is very critical. Skilling India, capacity development. If we do not have capacity of our officers, of our municipal authorities, of our colleagues at various levels of the ministry, we cannot implement these programs. Concentrated solar technologies. We at UNDP believe concentrated solar technologies should not necessarily be used for power generation. The first thing that concentrated solar technologies produce is heat. So we are proposing using heat for application in Indian industries, and we have set up many projects. We are using it for cooking, large-scale cooking in Shirdi. We have set up in Brahma Kumari, Tamil Nadu. It is being used for laundry, hotels, you name it. We have a JEF small grants program where we have supported over 300 NGOs. And so far we are working at present with about 150 NGOs all over the country. Energy efficiency and replication is being done in various industries, transport, residential, commercial. This is a very important statistics I would like to quote. Annual energy efficiency in India will increase by about 1.5%. Overall resource efficiency will increase by about 3%. And if the economy grows at even 8 to 9%, the energy intensity of GDP will continue to decline. We don't have to do much about it. This is happening. So the 25% that we committed a few years ago at the COP will happen. Knowledge management, awareness, and capacity building. We like to strengthen the information base. We would like to use UN Solution Exchange communities of practice. We are already working with parliamentarians and legislative forums to bring them to speed with what they need to do about climate change and renewable energy. We have some constraints. Excessive centralized control leads to lack of buy-in in the community. Participation of citizens. Normal citizen is minimal in this sector. Experience shows that many times projects, because of become non-operational due to lack of O&M, management, technical support after the project was completed. Often plants are sized just for lighting needs. The rural people also have aspirations to live a lifestyle like you and me. Why should we just give them power just for lighting? We should provide them power for their sustainable livelihoods. And most of the power plants set up in rural areas have very low capacity utilization, and suboptimal design of plants leads to high generation costs. Grid interactive DDG units required, this is the need of the hour, to address the issue of economic viability. Successful renewable energy models have led to employment generation through micro-level enterprises. This is an example of West Bengal Renewable Energy Development Authority, which I visited. They are doing pioneering work in this area. Despite number of programs and interventions, DGD till date has not been successful. This particular community of practice of UNDP, the knowledge sharing platform, is facilitated by UNDP as energy accounts for over 60% of GHG emissions globally, and climate change is taking center stage in the global environmental agenda. Objective is to utilize existing knowledge, both expert knowledge and tacit knowledge. Till date, tacit knowledge, the knowledge from the experience of the practitioners in the field, is not being brought to the public at large. UN has been doing that for the last 10 years, and it has been a very, very fruitful exercise. About the use of renewable energy and the constraints in its implementation for meeting the development objectives of India. Renewable energy and DDGs are closely linked and needs to be promoted on a war footing. I would like to conclude. Renewable energy is one of the major thrust areas for mitigating climate change. UNDP is working very closely with the Government of India in promoting and implementing projects on renewable energy. Solution Exchange, the climate change community, which I had at UNDP, facilitated by us, is being effectively utilized to learn from the tacit knowledge of practitioners and identify the constraints being faced in the field. To ensure inclusive growth of this country in the near future, there is a need to recognize renewable energy and the environment as key development issues rather than considering them as technical or sectoral issues. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.